Hi guys, and welcome to another one of my videos. The comic book I'm reviewing today is the very first story arc of the Green Lantern ongoing series that's called Green Lantern Sinestro. I was never a big Green Lantern fan. I watched the movie before I became before I became a fan of comic books in general, and the movie did not help my overall impression of the Green Lantern. And Jeff Johns, as a writer, the very first comic book I ever read was Justice League by Jeff Johns, and I like his run on Justice League a lot more than other people, but it didn't make my overall impression of Green Lantern any better. However, when I read the very first issue of Aquaman and saw that Jeff Johns actually wrote this, my mind was blown, and I basically decided to give him another chance, and I started reading Green Lantern. And I have to say, this is one of the best story arcs in the DC universe so far. For those of you who don't know, the reason that Sinestro is a Green Lantern again is because Hal Jordan basically gets kicked out of the Green Lantern Corps for disobedience, and his power ring chooses Sinestro again. So Sinestro has once again become a Green Lantern. And the Guardians tell him that while it is not our wish for you to be a Green Lantern, the ring has a will of its own and it chose you, Sinestro. So Sinestro is actually sent to his homeworld of Korugar, where he discovers that the Sinestro Corps, his army that feeds on fear, is savagely destroying the planet that he has tried so hard to create. And Sinestro basically decides that he has to destroy his own core, but he can't do it alone. Meanwhile, on Earth, Hal Jordan is down on his luck. He doesn't even have a car. He's losing money. He's going to be evicted very, very soon. And then he gets thrown into jail once he jumps off a 7-story building to stop what seemed like an attempted rape, which was actually just a movie being filmed. He's saved by Carol Ferris, I believe. She is the former Star Sapphire, one of Green Lantern's villains. And Hal Jordan he's basically been out of touch with everyday life. He's focused so much of his life on the core that he's simply lost touch with, humanity. And he tries to reconnect with Carol through the whole story, but it just doesn't work. And at the end of the first issue, things just get more complicated when Sinestro tells him, Hal Jordan, I need your help. The overall theme of this story was redemption from Sinestro. Sinestro doesn't believe that his dictatorship on Korugar was wrong. He saw it as a necessary sacrifice that needed to be made for the safety and security of his people. He also comments on the status of Earth. He says that your world lacks unity, that you lack a common leader to control your people. And he basically sees the different governments of Earth and so on as a liability that needs to be gotten rid of. And Hal Jordan, the second Hal Jordan gets his ring back, which is created from Sinestro's ring, he tries to destroy Sinestro, and it doesn't work because you cannot use the weapon on its own creator. That's basically the rule as to how this modified Green Lantern ring works. But anyway, Green Lantern actually decides to begrudgingly join Sinestro on his mission to stop the Sinestro Corps. But before that, he sees that a bridge is falling apart and he tries to save it. Sinestro basically stops him and actually shows him that saving everyone individually is a waste of time, and that he actually recreates a whole new bridge, not a construct, like he basically recreates the whole bridge and saves everybody. He and Hal Jordan are then attacked by a member of the Sinestro Corps. And, one thing I want to say is Sinestro is a pretty big badass through this whole arc. the way he takes care of these guys is awesome. In the first issue, one of his Sinestro Corps members sneaks up on him, and he just, creates a small line and puts it around the guy's neck, and he just strangles him, and then he blows up his ring so that it can't find a new bearer. And in this second Sinestro Corps member that he kills, he actually creates a giant sword and runs him through, and he kills him. And he then destroys his ring as well. So that's just a quick thing I wanted to say, that Sinestro is a pretty big badass through the whole story. And the later issues all focus on Korugar. Sinestro basically made a failsafe where if he puts a Green Lantern battery into the Sinestro Corps' main battery, which basically gives them all their power, he can basically send all of his troops into a forced coma. It's basically a failsafe that's created to keep them in line and to control them. And even Sinestro is appalled by the stuff that these guys are doing. He created this corps to destroy the Green Lanterns, but he also wanted them to have a code. Like, you cannot kill innocents and so on. And he basically created a code so that he can truly replace the Green Lantern Corps. Now that these guys are just feeding off the massive fear on Korugar, Sinestro and Hal Jordan try to sneak onto the planet. And when Sinestro sees Arsona, one of his former lieutenants, being attacked, he just says screw it, and he goes on to battle his entire corps by himself. Hal Jordan attempts to put the battery into the main battery of the Sinestro Corps, but it doesn't work because the battery has somehow been modified so that only Sinestro himself, as a Green Lantern, can turn it off. And at the end of the third issue, Hal Jordan kind of gets almost incinerated, but it actually teleports him back to where Sinestro is, and Sinestro tells him it didn't work, and they all get captured by the Sinestro Corps. The fourth issue, Hal Jordan desperately tries to escape his prison. He's creating all sorts of constructs, and when his power ring reaches when his ring starts running out of power, he basically creates one final construct of Carol so that he can see her before he dies. And I thought that was a pretty big moment. And before this, I read Justice League, and I thought Hal Jordan was a douchebag who I wanted him to die so badly. But in this comic book, Hal Jordan is redeemed to me, and I wish Jeff Johns could give him the same love he gives him here in his own ongoing series. But anyway, back to the story. Sinestro is trapped with the rest of his people, and all the adults are blaming him for all of this. They blame him for the Sinestro Corps. They blame him for the horrible dictatorship on Korugar. And basically, Hal Jordan comes up with an idea where he tells Sinestro, hey, if you created a ring for me, how about you create hundreds of rings for all of your people so that he can create an army? Sinestro does this, but once everyone gets a power ring of their own, they try to turn on Sinestro, and Hal Jordan basically convinces them. He tells them, hey, I don't like this guy any more than you do, but he is our only chance of winning this battle, and we have to trust him this one time. They actually follow through with Hal Jordan's instructions. They trust him, and this is a great moment between Arsona, who I think she had romantic feelings for Sinestro, but in that one defining moment of hers, she basically asks him, I meant nothing to you, didn't I? And he tells her less than nothing. This is basically when Arsona, she basically lets go of her past with Sinestro. She's going to put all of that behind her so that she can work with him this one last time. And she's going to stop beating herself up over Sinestro's dictatorship on Korugar. The second to last issue of the story arc is basically an all-out battle between the Sinestro Corps and the powered-up citizens of Korugar. In the end of the battle, Sinestro is able to save the entire planet, and all of the children hail him as a hero. Arsona tells him The children might be too young to remember that, and they may call you a hero, but for us people, us adults who lived during your tyranny, we cannot forgive this to you, while the younger generation might. And Hal Jordan and Sinestro take back the main Sinestro Corps battery, and Hal Jordan and Sinestro have this one conversation where they actually bond for a moment, and Sinestro tells him, "You should have enough power to get back." This is where Sinestro stabs Hal Jordan in the back. He told him that if you help me, I will let you keep the ring, but I never said anything about giving you your own power battery. And Hal Jordan basically gets stuck back on Earth, and the last few panels all are connected with the Guardians. They basically say that we tried to create the Manhunters and that didn't work. We tried to create the Green Lantern Corps and that also didn't work. So it's time for us to release the first Lantern from his prison, I suppose, and to lead the third army that is supposed to get rid of the Green Lanterns. Issue 6 actually isn't directly tied with this whole story arc, but it is a story arc that shows the aftermath of the first storyline, and it segues into the next storyline. So I'm going to review that one too, because it has some pretty significant things to say about the characters. So the last one is called Other Hero, I believe. Hal Jordan is back on Earth. He makes up with Carol Ferris. He tells her that I focused too much of my life on my job and that I don't have to be a Green Lantern anymore to enjoy my life. And there is this great moment where Hal sees a man being extorted by 4 thugs and he just kicks their asses without even trying. That was just an awesome fight scene. And Carol asks him, "What are you going to do, for thrills on this planet? How are you not going to get bored here?" And he just tells her, "Yeah, I think I'll find something to do while I'm here." While on the other side of the galaxy, Sinestro goes to this dark planet where he reconnects with an alien called Starstorm. Starstorm was apparently a superhero of this world, but Yellow Lantern Sinestro kicked his ass, and now Starstorm has become this coward. He's become completely afraid of everything, and he's lost all respect for himself, for his planet, and for everybody. And Sinestro is actually looking for answers from this woman who appeared in the Sinestro Corps War storyline. This one is connecting the tales of Sinestro. She's basically someone who uses fear to get the tales out of different people. She has the tales of Sinestro, the tales of Starstorm, and she uses these horrible life stories from people to feed her own power. And through this whole encounter, Sinestro actually finds out that the Guardians have said this, that without Sinestro, Hal Jordan and the Sinestro Corps out of the way, now we can free the First Lantern and eliminate the Green Lantern Corps either by peaceful means or by force. So Sinestro is horribly shocked at this. Even he says that he can't believe that the Guardians would dare do something like this, and he decides that he needs Hal Jordan's help. He knows that only he and Hal Jordan can stop the Guardians, and that the rest of the Corps is most likely completely oblivious to the Guardians' overall plan. And at the end of the issue, Sinestro goes back to Hal Jordan and tells him, "I need your help again," and that something horrible is about to happen. And Hal Jordan basically tells him, "No, I'm done being a Green Lantern, and I'm done being your puppet." The final panel is Sinestro simply telling him, "Oh no, Hal Jordan, your days as a Green Lantern are far from over." This is one of the best storylines of the DC New Universe of the New 52. Jeff Johns did an incredible job on this one, and the art is amazing through the whole arc. It feels like one completely connected story, and I wish Marvel and DC did more of this. I just wish they kept the same artist for the whole storyline so that it can all feel connected. And true, the last issue, the sixth one, which isn't directly tied to the first storyline, it is its own thing and it has its own artist, but it feels perfectly connected to the previous storyline and it perfectly sets up the next storyline that is coming up. And issue 7 has the same artist from the first 5 issues. So yeah, everything feels connected. The art is fantastic. The writing for everyone is great, and the interaction between Sinestro and Hal Jordan, it's just great stuff. It's great stuff, and I wish Jeff Johns could do a better job with Justice League and and Hal Jordan in Justice League, because I've read Aquaman and I'm reading Aquaman and I'm reading Green Lantern, and I just wish Jeff Johns could do more with this character in other storylines that he could adapt to other characters. But anyway, Sinestro Corps, I would say it gets 5 stars out of 5. I have absolutely nothing bad to say about this story, and it's just great.